Testing, one, two, three. Testing, one, two, three. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Give thanks and praises to the Most High. We like to say that. As we like to present all of our presentations. Give thanks and praises unto the Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, the order and the chaos, that being, that omnipotent, omnipresent spirit that we live and breathe and take our life in. God is something outside of us instead of something that we have our very being. The air that we breathe is a part of the Most High. And we don't see it, but yet still it is vital for our existence. It's vital for our life, for our continue our existence. We don't have it. We expire. This is called wAKANDA, eGYPTOLOgy, and the star children. This presentation is called wAKANDA, eGYPTOLOgy, and the star children. And the reason why I'm doing this broadcast is because of the passing of Big Gregory. I never did anything, any salutations when Big Gregory passed, any mourning, or I don't mourn because now he's in the ether. He's with us eternally, always, to access all the time, even more omnipotent than what he was, because now he's back to the Almighty. He's with the Almighty. And people wonder, they wonder, well, I wonder if anybody was practicing ancient concepts and ancient disciplines as far as the ways of the ancient masters of cosmogony or Egyptologists. And then my mind set right on to Dick Gregory. The only conversation I ever had with Dick Gregory was a conversation about Egypt. And the fact that he fasted and ate holistic, that was the very thing that made me think, or made me know that he uses the chakras, and he uses the chakras, and he is enabled by the chakras at 80 something years old to travel and still perform and present to people. And then some people say, who owns what? Because I hear a lot of stuff associated with certain organizations and certain people, certain groups. And I'm like, man, before you people got involved with this, or other people got involved with this, it was a sign to God. God-fearing people who pursued the Most High, who had knowledge of God, who didn't think of God as a spook or some entity outside of their very being. This is called wAKANDA, Egyptology, and Star Children, because this is what this is about. This is who this is for. Okay. wAKANDA, because I wanted to speak on the fact that Stan Lee, his imagination, the creators of the wAKANDA, it's not as foreign as one would think. A hidden kingdom in Africa. People think there's a hidden kingdom in Africa now of Egyptologists, people who had the science of ancient Egyptologists, the ancient masters, who supposedly traveled out throughout the world and taught religion and philosophy throughout the world during the Great Deluge, or during a time period when Egypt was overran by foreigners. And it was foretold that there would be a fall, and things would happen, and the masses would actually go out into the world and teach the world, as opposed to being confined to the libraries in the area and region we know as Egypt today, or the northern part of Africa that we know as Egypt and Ethiopia, in that region. But that concept or that thought pattern exists for there to be an invisible kingdom in Africa, which is living at a technological rate that is unsurpassed by modern man. That is not even an inkling of modern man. It has a glimpse of the more ancient times than what we even can see with our archaeology. They actually have living testaments. How should I say it? More accurate historians, more accurate histories, technologies passed down through unbroken or through peace, through living in peace, as opposed to always living in war, to having war as an outcome. wAKANDA, 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 W-A, wow, way, or like bow, B-A, is a soul word in ancient Egypt. Way, wow, W-A, it's a soul word in ancient Egypt. It's the wa, the ka, the ba. You can look it up for yourself. I'm not trying to go directly into the breaking down of the wAKANDA name. I'm not blue pill, red pill. You know what I'm saying? I'm just want to give you highlights of what we see when we look into the imagination. The imagination is just a realm or dimension of what could be, of a possibility that could be. And time and chance and infinity purposely shows us that whatever that we can think of, we can manifest. Or whatever that can be thought can be manifested. And that's one of the keys to manifesting things. You can't manifest something that's never been thought of. Something has to be thought of before it can be manifested. So this concept, like we'll start off, now it's manifested. Egyptology, because today's Christianity is a small glimpse of Egyptology, more probably accurately exposed by Hilton Hotima and some other historians, Levi Joseph, Hermes Trimester, Levi Eliphas, the Ptolemies. It's just for you to investigate, not from take away the word pagan as being unassociated with God, because God is an all-encompassing figure. He's not exclusive, he's inclusive. So you have only a very small amount of the world fall under concepts of Christianity. Now these people think they're right completely, and that is the total way to God when that's only 2,000 years old. When Egyptology is at least 25,000 years old. You know what I'm saying? It's at least 25,000 years old. There are pyramids that are 25,000 years old. So going back to these concepts. So if I'm going to put my eternal life, if I'm going to base my eternal life on something, I'm not going to say the predecessors of 25 years of dying, living and dying, who Egyptians mastered dying to walk into the afterlife. That's what their whole concept about the Book of the Dead, the Book of Light, and all those things were all about. Were about mastering death, so that when you died, you went into the paradise, as opposed to being your soul devoured by a crocodile or a negative aspect of something happening to your soul. Wakanda, Egyptology, and Star Children. Egyptology, the pantheon of Osiris, Asar, Aset, Isis, Horus, very similar to the Father, Son, Holy Spirit trilogy, Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit Trinity. But you have to think, am I gonna try for the small period of white European domination's history versus a large period of just an Afrocentric, culturally dominated world? And these concepts still exist, but are just being displayed or being exercised in different ways. I'm going to probably lean towards the Egyptology concepts, meaning they're more natural concepts, more, if not sun god worship. That's not literally what it is, sweetheart. Dear children, people of Earth. I'm only 50-odd years old, and by the time I was 20, I had read enough to where from 19 to 21, it took me less than 2 years of studying. It probably took me less than 2 months of studying to realize they weren't worshiping the sun. You couldn't get all of that from just worshiping the sun. And then again, maybe you could. But it was the principles of the sun and the life-giving principles as they were displayed throughout humanity and throughout nature, especially throughout humanity. The way that how the parent cell of a human being comes out of nowhere. That first cell, which does the meiosis or mitosis, and it formulates the double cell, and then the quadruple, and then on and on and on and on to where it forms a human. And the soul is in place. That first cell, it comes out of thin air or out of nothing. That was an Egyptian principle that they didn't have microscopes or technology to know that. But by the time technology came and microscopes came, they acknowledged that that was true also. That first parent cell came from nothing. So how did they know that unless they had a technology that exceeded ours, or a wisdom that exceeded ours? And it said through studying humanity as opposed to studying materialism, the acquisition of wealth. So instead of acquiring wealth, we try to acquire knowledge, wisdom, understanding that helps our brother man, that helps us to live and helps our brother man. It's like if you see a person who has a problem with eating, and then you point them towards vegetables and towards fruits and a more holistic type of health, then, I mean, you're not saving them literally, but if they incorporate what you, even to a certain degree, incorporate what you share with them, then you're providing the means to save them on a holistic level, because that will incorporate the better health, better mindset, and things of that nature, so that they can in turn live a longer, more prosperous life. Wakanda, Egyptology, and Star Children. Star Children, Wakanda, Egyptology, and Star Children. Egyptology. The only conversation I ever had with Dick Gregory was in the 80s. I would say 85, 86. He was speaking at Duke University. Some friends of mine, I was passionate about Africa and about anything African American, whether it be history, culture, or actually exercising the liberties of being African American. And Dick Gregory was speaking at Duke, of all places, the Trinity School, the old name, Duke, on Tobacco Row. But we went down to see Mr. Gregory. After he spoke, moving, to speak about his travels and things of that nature, I had a chance to actually ask him a question. It's like a little tea or luncheon or something afterwards. Let's call it a tea party afterwards. Literally, yeah, like a tea party. So I approached Dick Gregory and I said something to this effect. Because I'm so heavily studying Egyptology at that moment that I'm immersed in Egyptology into Kemetic science. It's just, and I use the word Egyptology so you will know both profane and arcane. You know what I'm saying? We'll both know. You know what I'm saying? But Kemetic sciences, Kemetic orders, just, you know what I'm saying, Kemetic way of life. You know what I'm saying? Sheikh Anta Diop, was like was like a father to me. The whole ancient civilizations, ancient African origins of African civilization. And that was like my Bible. Okay, I was writing hieroglyphs and things of that nature, putting them on my walls and creating words with hieroglyphs and things back when I was 21, 22 years old. So this was my thing. That was my thing. So I approached Dick Gregory and I said, let's say if you place a razor on the corner of a pyramid, that it'll not only not get dull over time, but sharp. I said, do you think there's still power, or there's power to be found in exercising Egyptian sciences? And he said something about this. Maybe he literally didn't say there's power in the pyramids. There's still power in the pyramids. But he says he relayed to me an incident that happened when he went to Egypt. He said he'd been to Egypt many times, but on one occasion he went to Egypt and he wanted to go in the pyramids, and he met this guy, and this guy was told him that he wanted to bring him to his house. He was a Muslim guy who was very, 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 very zealous about meeting him and about bringing him to his house. He thought maybe he thought he'd heard about him, like he does the fasting and things of that nature, or that he was a comedian or famous in America. He didn't understand why the man wanted to do. But the man brought him to his house. They prepared a meal. I said while he was preparing a meal, the man was outside handling some business, and the woman was in the kitchen. And the son came in from another room, and the son began to ask Dick Gregory questions. And Dick Gregory, I don't know if he was in Muslim or if it was in English, but there were simple questions. And Dick Gregory was entertaining the son, was sitting there talking to the son, and he was having a conversation with the son. And the man came in and his wife, and they began yelling and praising Allah and just jumping up and down, and Dick Gregory was like, he was at a loss because he didn't know what was going on. He was like, what is going on? I'm like, it's like, so he says, the man finally, when he calms down, he tells him, he says that the son hadn't spoken in some like 5, 6, 7 years, and that after it was a traumatic accident, and after the accident, the son hadn't spoken. But on that day, his son had spoken for the first time. And Dick Gregory, he was taking him any way he wanted to. He was showing places that had never been seen, that Americans had never seen in the pyramids. So he said he went on a tour. The man took him on one of the most in-depth tours of the pyramids that he had ever been on, or that anybody had ever been on. It's probably since Howard Carter discovered it. And I was like, so that's my Dick Gregory story. And I left there more convinced that chakras, that how that Egyptians had mastered the chakras, that Kemetic people had mastered the chakras long before the Indians. Long before the Indians. From India. And star children. With the amount of drugs that we're being born with, and the amount of chemicals that we have to deal with as human beings that are being introduced to us voluntarily, then there's going to be mutations and reactions to these chemicals. Some in defense, some in offense to reactions to these chemicals. From the 40s, 50s, and 60s, when people really didn't know what was going on. You know what I'm saying? The children are being born in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, and then their children are being born in the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. So by the time you get a third generation, there's some type of mutation that happens. We'll call it X-Men or whatever. Some people are highly gifted, I'm not going to say crack babies, but people who have had when you add pressure to people, the human mind is so adaptive. It'll overcome. It'll largely overcome almost anything you put in front of it that doesn't kill it. So all these reactions are going down through a generation or 2 or 3 generations that will be introduced to society. These drugs large as 60, 70, 80, 90 years. I mean, star children were foretold of thousands of years ago. Being born in the age of Aquarius. The people who were being born in the age of Aquarius, there will be a certain gift and enlightenment from the water bearer. And there will be another gift and enlightenment when we move into the next 2,000 years of human evolution. Because we're on our Earth, a solar cycle of 26,000 years. So every 2,100 years, the sun moves into a different celestial orbit or zodiac, as according to the tarot from ancient Egypt. And that can all be found. And I always question that there's a differentiation between Hotima's interpretation of tarot and modern European interpretation of tarot and the Egyptians' interpretation of tarot. So something is lost. So I don't fortune tell. I don't believe in fortune telling. I don't even believe in astrology. But I understand why people do. But I just think it's a misguided science. But I understand some of the consistencies, some of the things that is consistent with those, some of those core sciences like fortune telling and astrology. And I think that once the human mind is trained, it can be better. It becomes better at doing these things. because I have intuition sometimes, and I can call somebody and they'll be doing something that I don't want them to do, or thinking about something that I don't want them to think about, or something happening that I can prevent or I can help and aid in. Or I'll call somebody and the very thing that I asked them about is the thing that they were just doing and they were just about to do or just thinking about, just having some resolve about. So these coincidences and intuitions, I'm learning to follow more, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not trained. I'm I'm trained intuitively. That means I studied years ago and I just like put everything together and run with it. You know what I'm saying? The 22 years of reading the Bible every day, the 5 years of Egyptology, the 30 days of fasting, the chakras, Eastern, Western philosophies. I put them all together to create the most positive thing I can create to both help myself and those people around me. And that's it. Um, I'm not here vainglorious, thinking that the name Timothy Squires is ever going to be down in infamy or anything like that. That's not the goal. I would rather be unknown and help people than to be known and never help a soul, or be well known and never truly help people. I've written books, but I've never really shunned away from getting infamy or being famous, because it comes with a certain amount of vanity, and I try to make myself a non-vain person, even though I may very well read the eyes of other people. wAKANDA, Egyptology, and Star Children. Now, what would the Star Children be able to do? Math, sciences, literature, poetry, anything having to deal with the human existence. Not just math heads, but liberal arts heads and child prodigies when it comes to humanities, pushing people like me, the girl Malala. You know what I'm saying? Being young and being able to create awareness about humanitarian issues. Um, um, these are Star Trek, who can be a Mohandas Gandhi at 15, without a legal degree, without having to fight the British. You know what I'm saying? But we'll fight and confront the whole world for her country's sake, for her people's sake. And just all over the world, there are examples of people who will stand up, young people who will stand up in the face of oppression to understand and to help people grow out of their current situation. So, and these are the Star Children. And the Star Children, some may be in your own home. Okay? As opposed to beating your children, talk to them. Now, when talking to them doesn't work, then I don't understand. You have to use it right. But talk to your children as much as possible to make them understand, or to try to make them understand. Don't be so quick to hit them if they don't understand what's going on. Make them understand what's going on before you strike them. Or if you choose to strike them, make them understand what's going on. Because the children are smarter. They're learning more from the womb. They're coming out of the womb with more than 5 senses. This is why we call them Star Trek. No, I'm not going to say 6 sense, 7 sense, clairvoyance, telekinesis. But yeah. And I'm not saying it because I have it. And I'm not saying it because I know people that have it. I'm just saying it because with the way that the human being is progressing, that these are just these are fabled utilitarian skills of the past, of ancient masters, but are fabled skills of ancient masters, but are more associated with magicians and wizards, warlocks, and things of that nature. Magicians. But Star Children, Egyptology, and Wakanda. Star Children because Jesus was the ultimate star child. I mean, go back and do your research on George Clinton, and you'll understand Parliament Funkadelic, Star Children. Listen to your Earth, Wind, and Fire, and you'll understand. See, because secretly, we have been manifesting Egyptology on a large level, and we didn't even know about it. It's like we haven't necessarily been manifesting it, but we've been around it, and we've been so deeply involved in it. It's a veil been over our eyes, and we didn't even know. It's like when Earth, Wind, and Fire did the song Serpentine Fire. Well, it's all about the serpentine fire. Then right there, that was it. That was it. It was all about the serpentine fire. That's the chakras, it being ignited, and the man walking in his godlike state, uh, moving the bodily fluid or the heavenly fluid or the spiritual fluid or the spiritual light from the gonads, stop being focused on the gonads or sex or the beast, up through the belly, you know what I'm saying, through the chest, through the throat, through the mouth, through the nose, through the forehead, through the crown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the throat, the throat and mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that was in the 70s, and a lot came out in the 70s. Earth, Wind, and Fire. A lot of knowledge came out in the 70s, and a lot of change came out in the 70s. Humanitarian change came out in the 70s. Made the world a better place. So we look for humanitarian change to come out in the next, as soon as we get Donald Trump out of office, we look for world humanitarian change to come out. Because that's what it's the old regime. They're fighting to propagate the privileged white middle class or white American, the privileged white American. That's what he's fighting to keep at the top of the food chain. And privileged America is probably going to be wound up at the top of the food chain. And if they don't become humanitarians, then America and the world will be elevated quickly. But if they don't become humanitarians, it's like the whole royal wedding with the Prince Harry marrying a woman of African American descent. It's to let them be inclusive of a bloodline that's already inclusive of them. All right? Okay, because the bloodline they claim from is going to be a more darker bloodline of darker people than what is in Europe today. You know what I'm saying? The Merovingian kings and the kings and that whole thing. If you read Holy Blood, Holy Grail, the whole English bloodline. It comes from those people that were smuggled out of, Eurasia during the period of Christ, after Christ, and Mary, and that bloodline is supposed to be of the kings of descent in England. You know what I'm saying? So, and also the Merovingian kings in France. And correct me if I'm mistaken. You can put it down below in the comments below if I'm mistaken. But the Holy Blood, Holy Grail, that was the whole defense. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Holy Blood and that's what the Holy Grail was. The bloodline of Jesus and the bloodline of Jesus being an Aramaic, not being Caucasian, and not being European, coming out of that area and into Europe. WAKANDA, Egyptology, and STAR. Well, I think I've said enough. But if you haven't seen Black Panther, see it. I'm going to buy the movie, use it as a teaching tool. And the effects are great. You know what I'm saying? Stanley is great. DC, Infinity Wars, all that. Yeah, so what? It's only the glimpse into African American culture that I look at this movie for, so that you can see what we see, so that now you finally can see what we see, so you can see what we see, what I see. You finally get to see what I see about African culture. Stanley saw it. Stanley saw it. Whether it was a vision or whatever, but Stanley saw it. The creators of Marvel Comics, they saw it. They saw it. It's not a myth. You know what I'm saying? It might be built on, you see it as a comic book, as an adaptation from a comic book. That's what you see it as. But you don't understand that cartoonage, the comic book, or the cartoon, or the glyph, or the hieroglyph was one of the highest orders of communication and the way of passing on history in ancient Egypt. The very concept of comic books come from the cartoonage that is used in ancient Egypt. So the cartoonage was before. The cartoonage of ancient Egypt was long before the comic book, in which tried to display or to try to captivate or create some of the same images or that same technology. I mean, so art imitate life, life imitate art. I mean, it happens all the time. So it's just that only some people know. Some people go to this movie and they'll be like, oh, wow, to think of Black people like that would be marvelous. And then some people go to this movie and be like, Black people are like this, have been like this. This is what was stolen from Black people. This is why we were brought here to make this country. It's because of the same wisdom. It's the fact that we had this existence before you came, meaning Europeans. So, but I think I've said enough. I've always said I talk too much. And Dick Gregory used to say, I tell white people the truth. That's what Dick Gregory used to say. He said, they used to get mad at him for telling white people the truth. You can't tell white people the truth. You gotta let them figure it out for themselves. Well, I might not never know. This has been an episode of Black Cannabis Culture, the newer used car guy. Thank you very much for watching. Have any comments, put them below. This has been WAKANDA, Egyptology and STAR children.